It's possible to be walking in order steps and almost fall down anyhow. So we must ask ourselves, what can happen to a good man to make him fall down anyhow? Growing up in the church and growing up in Christ, there have been so many good men and so many good women that I've been able to observe, and you have to scratch your head and say they were singing in the choir and they won't sing anymore. They were ushering on the usher board and they won't usher anymore. What in the world can happen to make the good man fall down? Well, beloved, we fall, we slip, we stumble when we're no longer walking in the steps that God has ordered for us. Yes, and there's so many distractions that can cause us to no longer walk in God's ordered steps. So many things can happen to us that will take us off God's path. Lord, have mercy. Hard trials can come in and cause us to walk away from God's ordered steps. Yes, but if God says, stay here, you ought to stay there and keep on walking. Sin can come in and cause us to walk away from God's ordered steps. But if God says, stay there, you better stay right there. Difficult situations may come in our life and cause us to walk away from God's ordered steps. But if God says, stay there, you better stay there. Sickness can come in and cause us to walk away from God's ordered steps. But if God says, stay there, you better stay there. Temptation may come in and cause us to walk away from God's ordered steps. But if God says stay there, you better stay there. And I need to pause for the cause. I wonder if there's anybody here who can testify and say there were so many times where I almost slipped, but God upheld me with his mighty hand. There were so many times where I almost threw up my hands and walked away, but God upheld me with his almighty hand. Yes, and I can remember when I was in school, we used to think it was funny when somebody was getting ready to sit down in their chair. We would pull out the chair and let them fall on the ground, and we would laugh. But don't you know that that's just how man will treat you? The very one you look for to hold you up, they'll pull the chair out and they'll laugh at you. But is there anybody here who can testify and say, God, he held me up. God wouldn't let me fall. God, he propped me up. Yes, I'm closing here, but I wish you would reach over to a neighbor and tell your neighbor, get your neighbor's hand, look him in the eye and say, neighbor, the only thing that kept me from falling was the Lord. He held me up. Oh, yes, yes.